Now we have talked about inserting records. You know how to insert records. You know how to update records, delete records, and export also. Now we are talking about inserting related records. Okay, for inserting related records, I think I took a small file and we were using that one. Let me just try and go back to that file. Let's see if I have that file. Yeah. Okay. So this is what we were doing. Let me just move this. Okay. So now let's consider a situation where we have to insert data for accounts and contacts. Let's say I have got this kind of a data. I have got the complete account details. Along with the account details, I have got the contact details. All right. Now I want this part of the data to go into the accounts table, whereas this should go into the contacts table. Got it? So this needs to be done. Now for doing this, I have to perform two insert operations, one for account and the other one for contacts. Correct? Which means I need two CSV files as well. One would be this file, the other one would be this file. Got it? So this is what we need. Okay, so we'll start with the first thing first. Let's create a CSV file for account. Okay, and insert these records. So ideally this should be the CSV file for the accounts to be inserted, right? And then I'll have to insert these accounts. There's something which I've already done, so we don't have to repeat it. Already these accounts have been created, so this should not be a difficult thing. Now I'll need to create a CSV file for these records, right? The contact records. Okay. So create another CSV file for the contact records, and we will insert the contacts. Now while you try to insert the contacts, there is one more thing which is missing here, one field which is missing. What is missing? The account name is missing, because if you create contacts, you'll have to associate the contact with some account, right? You'll have to define which account. Otherwise, you know what will happen? The accounts got created and now these contacts are going to get created, but there will not be any relationship. But I want to relate this account with this contact with that particular account. What is the name of the account? So this contact should be related to this account and financing, right? So we need to do that. The same way, this contact needs to be related to this account, right? So that needs to be done, which means in the CSV file that you're creating for the contact, you have to have a field which will have the reference for the account. Okay. Now, can I have the account name here as a reference field? Can I use the account name here? Or which field do you think I should use from account here? Name or which other field from account? Name or ID? Which one? Name or ID? What do you guys think? ID. Yeah, because ID is the unique identifier, right? So I cannot give the reference with the name. Name can be, the multiple accounts can have the same name. So giving a reference with the name will not work. So what do we need? We need the ID to be provided there. Correct? Okay. Now this is small, issue that I have for ID. That's basically that if you are trying to give the reference to the ID, I do not have the ID at this file. Do I have the account ID? No. How do I get the ID? By inserting the records into Salesforce. It's a Salesforce generated ID, right? Which means that you always have to insert the parent records first, then get the IDs, and then give the reference of the parent record IDs in the child record file. Got it? So if these two operations are done, you cannot do contacts insert first. Insert accounts will be done first, then you will get the IDs, and once you have got the IDs, those IDs are to be supplied to this file, and then those are going to be used there. Correct? That is the thing. So what we are going to do here, we are just going to take the IDs. Now I think I will have the IDs in the success file from the last session. Let me just try to get it. One moment, I'll just try to get the IDs. One moment. I'll just open the success file, or you can export the IDs from the data loader. In case you are trying to insert contacts for existing accounts, just export the IDs. In this case, we should be having that. Let's check. Success. Yeah, this is the file that we created last time, so I'm gonna get the IDs from here. Yeah, so the reference to the account will be given using account ID. Okay, that's it. Now if I insert these contacts, this contact is going to get created under this account. Got it? So we are good to save it. Just go ahead and click on save as. The same thing, comma delimited format, contact insert. Today is 11th October. Save it. Okay, I would need this thing, the password and the security token for the account that I was using in the last session. Can I just have that? I think I would be having that in my notepad also somewhere, but if you can get me the security token, that will be great. Let me see. Let's just now log in into the data loader. So we are gonna perform this. Yeah. Okay. So we have got the login ID security token. So it's gonna be an insert operation, right? This is still an insert operation, correct? We are inserting contacts. So click on insert, put your username, password, and after that put the security token. Click on login. Let's see if logged in successfully. Click on next. Okay, this time we are inserting contact, so click on contact, browse the file. Yeah, there's the one. Click on next. Okay, Your operation will contain 4 records. That's fine. Click on OK. Now just edit or create the map. Account ID got mapped, email, first name, last name, phone number. Okay. All the fields got mapped properly, which is a good thing. Now I just need to go ahead and click on OK. Click on next. Yeah, it's gonna save the log files here. I'm okay with that. Click on finish. You want to proceed? Yes. That's it. Okay. 4 successful inserts. Okay. Now these are the contact IDs and these are the account IDs. Right? The ID of the parent account and these are the contact IDs. These account ID is something which we provided and contact ID is what got generated for this particular contact. Alright. So let me quickly go to Salesforce and see if the records got created under the correct parents. Okay, so here we are. Alright, so let's go to the contacts and see if the contacts got created correctly, or I can also go to accounts and check if the contacts got created under them. Okay, so let me go to this account and see if there is a contact which got created under it. See, alright, so this is the contact which just got created. Got it? So this is how simple it is. So whenever you are actually inserting data into multiple tables and the data is related, you have to make sure that you insert the parent records first, and then in the child records give the reference to the parent using the IDs, the system generated IDs, and then insert the child records. As simple as that. Okay, nothing very difficult here. Okay, so that's what we have to do. Okay. Now we are going to talk about upsert. There's another operation called upsert operation. Okay. Upsert operation is basically about update or insert. Okay. Upsert is update or insert. Okay, so this is an operation which can update the record or insert the record, depending on whether the record is already there in the system or not. Okay, so let me give you a small scenario. Okay. Say you are taking data from a certain vendor. Okay, let's say you buy data every week. Whatever source you are getting data from, a particular source, you are buying it or you are actually getting it researched on the internet. Somehow you get the data. Okay, so every week you receive 500 new records and you insert them into your Salesforce database. Okay, now don't you think there is a possibility that some records that you get this week, let's say 500 records we have received this week, some of these records are already going to be there in the system? Maybe some record which I inserted previously is again in this new file which I'm trying to insert. Possible, right? So an upsert operation is actually going to help you in this case. Upsert actually can check the records based on an external ID field or the ID field, and if there are any records which are already existing, it can actually update those records, and the records which are not in the system, those will get created. So for example, there are 500 records that you're trying to insert. Okay, Out of these 500 records, um, let's say 480 are new records and 20 records are existing in the database, already in the database. Okay. Now what will happen? It's gonna update these 20 records with any new value, right? For those 20 records, there can be an updated phone number or an updated email ID, whatever. What is the latest value? It's gonna update those 20 records and it's gonna create 480 records. Okay, that is the thing. With an insert operation, what happens? It always creates the record. It doesn't update anything. With an update operation, it always updates the record and it does not create anything, right? Second thing, for an update, you always require a Salesforce ID. But upsert can be performed based on some other external ID field also. Correct. So upsert can be performed based on some other external ID field as well. So let's say there's another field which is you have made as external ID field. uh, say the street address. Let's say you have a street address field, you want to use that as identifier. So if there is another account which is being inserted with exactly the same street address, you don't want the record to be inserted. You just want the existing record to be updated. So that's something which an upsert is going to allow you. Got it? Okay, so let me just quickly go back to the Salesforce thing and one minute. We'll create an external ID field and then we are going to perform an upsert. Okay, fine. So let's say account. I have account. All right. So for account, I already have an identifier, which is the account ID, right? Salesforce system generated ID. But checking duplicates based on the ID is going to be difficult because the new records which you are trying to insert, the new records which I get, these records will not have ID, right? So you cannot check duplicates based on the IDs, system generated IDs. That will become a little difficult for you, right? So what you have to do, you have to decide on some other field which you can use for identifying the duplicate records. Any other field, all right? So let's say I have something like an account number. Okay, an account number is something which is not system generated. It's something which you will have in your file of these 500 records. Okay, so you'll have to consider any field which is going to be available before the record gets inserted. Then only you can actually check against that field. All right. So let's say there is an account number field, and this account number is going to be the unique identifier along with the account ID that Salesforce generates. I want account number field to identify whether the record is already there in the system or not. So I'll just go ahead and create that field. First of all, I'll just need to go to setup. I want to create a field and an account, so I need to go to customize, accounts, fields, and then create a new custom field which is going to be a number. Let me make it a text. Maximum length is 5. Okay, and make this field as an external ID field. Okay, so now when you check this option, this field becomes a unique record identifier for the external systems. Click on next, make it visible, go to next and click on save. Right, so I have got an external identifier field which is called account number, right? That field. Okay, so this is also one more field which can be used as a unique identifier for the record. Now let me go to this account and I'll populate a number for this. Account number A101. Okay, now this is the number for this account record. Okay, now if and let's say this field is something which is available in your CSV file also. When you're trying to insert, your CSV file also has got this field, because this is not a system generated number, this is a number which is associated to the account. Now if this is the field which is there in CSV file, now while you try to perform an upsert operation and upsert finds that there is a record which you are trying to upsert has got the same number, that record will get updated. It will not create a new record for it. Okay, so let me just go ahead and create one more file. Let me just go ahead and create one more file here. Give me one moment. Okay, so okay, now this is the new set of records which I'm dealing with. I'm going to change the names a little. Okay, so change the names. For this also I've changed the name. So for all these 4 records I've changed the name. Then I have got account number field. Okay, alright, so this is the file that I have. Now I have the option of checking duplicate records based on this field. Alright, so what will happen, an upsert is actually going to check if the record exists or not. If it has to check if the record exists or not, that has to be checked based on some field, right? So it's going to check based on this field and it will update the records where it finds that the record already exists. It is going to create the records where the record does not exist. Alright, so okay, so just click on file, save as. First of all, let's perform this operation and see what happens. And I'm gonna show you which records were updated and not. So upsert 11 of yes. Okay, so this time we are going to perform an upsert operation, right? We don't have an account ID or something like that. Which is the identifier? Account number is going to be the identifier. So go to the data loader and perform the upsert operation. This time click on upsert, account, browse the file. Click on next, click on OK. Remove external ID fields. We just define one. One moment. Did we not mark it as an external ID field? We did, right? Okay. One moment. I think I made some mistake in creating the external ID field. One moment. Okay, yep, it's working now. All right. Okay, so it was fine. I mean, there was no problem with the field that we created. Just that I logged in into this data loader before creating that field. Okay, now I just logged out and I logged in back. Okay. So usually, if you make any changes to the database after you logged in into this data loader will not have the metadata information about that particular thing, the changes that have been made in the metadata, right? So for that reason, ideally, I mean, this is just for the session that we are doing, we are creating the field right now. Ideally, whenever you get into data loader, the field is already going to be there. So in that case, there should not be any problem. Okay. Now what happens here? Because you have an external ID field, the moment you try to perform an insert operation, it gives you an option. You can use ID to identify the records, duplicate records, or you can use the account number, which is the external ID field that I just created. Obviously, I'm going to go ahead with the account number. ID I do not have in the field, in the file that I just created. I don't even have an ID. All right. So this is what I'm going to use. Click on next. Okay. Okay. For related records, in case, which one should be used? Okay. Parent also should be used as account number. Now edit the field mapping the same way. Account number gets mapped against the account number. Rest everything else we can map. Billing city, billing country, billing state, billing street, and postal code. Okay, everything has been mapped. Click on OK, go to next, and click on finish. Do you want to proceed? Yes. Okay. Four records had errors because everything else was matching, so it might be considering all the records as duplicate. Account number is not specified. Okay. See, actually, Salesforce also has one account number field. All right. So maybe what has happened, we mapped it to the Salesforce account number field. You notice here, the name that we have chosen, account number, actually is a field which already exists in Salesforce. See, this is an account number and this is an account number. Okay, so possibly we mapped it to the wrong field. Let me just do a small change. Let me call it account number spelling or something will change so that we don't get confused with this part. So we'll just go to customize accounts fields. Okay, we are just going to change the label or name for the field that we just created. Okay, that will make things easier for us. I'll call it account number. I'll call it account number. Okay, just making these changes here. Okay, now again, since I've made the changes in the metadata, should ideally again log out of the data loader, log in back into the data loader. So yep, I'll quickly do that. So that it retrieves the final information, the current information. Go to next. This time go to account, click on browse, try to upsert the file. This is the file that we created. Go to next. Click on OK. Account number, go to next. Next. Okay. Now, okay. So this is what we have to map it against. Earlier it got mapped against this field. But this is basically not the unique identifier. This field is unique identifier. Okay. Fine. So let me just map it here. Now billing city goes here. Everything else need to be mapped the same way. Zip code. State. Street. And to match. Yep. Everything else got optimized. Which is good. Okay. Right. Now click on OK. Go to next. Log files, click on finish. Let's see what happens now. Okay, this time we have got 4 successful upserts. Okay, now there is no error. Let's go and see the success report. Now this time it has created 4 new records. What was the account number for the existing account? Accounting and finance. See, this record got updated. This one, sorry. This is 101 and this is 101. Okay, fine. Let's perform an upsert one more time. The same object, same file I'm going to use. Okay, click on next, go click on OK, use account number, click on next. Okay, auto match. Take billing, city, country, state, street, and postal code. Okay, click on finish here. Yes. Okay, use success here. Okay, this time it updated the records, okay, based on the account number. All right. Got it. So this time it has updated the record based on the account number. There was no ID, but still the items just got updated. Okay, so when it finds that the records are already existing based using the account number, I did not have the IDs. Last time, we performed an update operation which was based on the IDs, where we had to get the IDs. Here I did not have the IDs. I performed the upsert operation. It just says that items got updated. Okay, which means the records got updated only. Okay, there was no new record which got created. But actually, I did not have any changes in the files. Even if you had changes in the files, those will get updated here, and things are being checked based on the account number now. All right. So if there are some records which do not have the account number, or which do not have a matching account number in the existing database, those records are going to get created, and the records which are they're already there in the system, where it finds that there is a matching account number already existing in the database, those records will get updated with a new value, right? So that's what an upsert operation does. All right. Okay, fine. So that's basically about the upsert operation. So upsert is something which you will use in a lot of scenarios, because see, as I said, most of the times you will have this kind of a situation. You're getting data on a frequent basis, and you need to insert that into your database. All right. Now, inserting the data into the database always has this chance that some of the records which you're trying to insert are already existing in the database. Okay, so in that case you can actually perform an upsert operation. So upsert will automatically check based on a particular field that okay, fine, if the data is already there in the database or not, and if it is not in the database, then how do if it's not in the database, it's going to insert it. If it is there in the database, it's going to create that. Got it? So that's how it works. Clear? Okay. Now let me know if anyone has any question or doubt here.